On their way home, the inquisitive Ewoks decide to investigate the strange object Deej spotted from the sky.
Okay, so Amy, what's your earliest memory of the Ewok adventure? Do you have any recollections of watching the original broadcast, or was it something you discovered later?
Uh, I knew it existed. I remember it was probably one of those things we watched, like, Saturday evening movie kind of thing with the family or whatever. But it wasn't until it came out on DVD that I really hunkered down and started watching it and gave it any real second thought or interest. I had to look it up. I had to look up the date because I actually have my copy. 2004. So
I
yeah.
remember those. That was, yeah, I think that was when I revisited it. I'd seen it on the Disney Channel as a kid, and I think had a recording on VHS. And then it wasn't until that DVD that I really saw it again. So, how did you become a collector of all things Ewoks? What was the item that started it all? What do you remember if there was a single item that started it all?
It was a, you remember the action, I think it was Action Fleet, the Micro Machine line in the 90s. I had some friends that were deep into Star Wars, and one of them had a double of one of the Ewoks. And she's like, here, you can have this. And I'm like, oh, cool, And that was my first Star Wars thing for myself. My brother was always the Star Wars collector. He had all the Ewoks. He had the Ewok Village. He had all, everything. And I was always very envious of that. So that at that point, I think I was like 13. I was like, an Ewok of my own. That's cool. And then it kind of sprouted from there. And then I always collected whatever I liked. But at a certain point, I looked back and went, oh, this is all like Ewoks and Jedi stuff, because that's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, I might as well own it. Just, focus on the Ewoks.
Yeah. And well, so the thing is like you I know you know this, there's immense volume of Ewok related merchandise, but there isn't nearly as much that's tied specifically to the TV movies by comparison, it seems. Why do you think that is?
Well, it was an odd time for Lucasfilm, right? They had year after year for quite a few years. They were trying new things. They were trying to connect to a new audience or keep the interest going in Star Wars, despite the fact there were no new movies coming out. So, hey, we're gonna try this Droids cartoon. We're gonna do the Ewoks cartoons. Ewoks cartoons outlasted Droids by a year. And then we're going to do these Ewok movies and see what else is going on. And with each year that went on, there was declining interest, I think. And so there was less of an emphasis and a push to put out merchandise. Certainly not having any toy lines didn't really help much there. But when you're showing something one night on a national broadcast, you're not anticipating it. They're not going to play it over and over again. It's not in the theater. So the push for merch isn't as strong.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so what I thought we could do is just highlight a handful of the merch that's tied specifically to Caravan of Courage. To start off, maybe we could look at some of the behind the scenes stuff. All right, so the first thing we have is one of my favorite crew items of all time. It's this this T-shirt that has a crazy Savage Ewok scene going on here, and one of them is screaming, "Damn right, we're cute." So, what's the story on this? And do you have one of these?
I do not. This is a photo from Gus Lopez's collection, but I like the part of me just likes it because it looks like something that you'd hire someone at the local state fair to make with an airbrush gun. I think the crew that was working at ILM were just kind of like, murder bears. We're making a movie about murder bears. So there was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek play on this one, I think.
And I imagine these are pretty tough to track down.
They don't come up very often. I think there was a Eric Walker who played Mace was doing a Kickstarter at some point, and I think he was doing this artwork on a shirt for a time, and you could get it kind of like as a new print. I didn't get in on that either. I kind of feel bad about it, but
yeah. And then up next, this is another one. I knew this was from Gus's collection, but it's the stop motion maquette puppet of the Gorax. Now, have you seen this in person before?
Yes, yeah, that's the picture I took when Gus was very nice and let me come and take pictures of all his Ewok merchandise and Ewok items for a panel that we did with Jared Clark and I for Celebration. Yeah, it's very tiny. It's probably only like 8 or 9 inches tall. It's a very small puppet.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, and this is from basically when he falls down the crevice, right? I think is that the only time it was used?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I probably, yeah.
It's like a face that anyone could love.
Yeah.
I thought we'd maybe go into a little bit of the kind of ephemeral promotional stuff out there. And with it being on TV here in North America, I'm assuming this was one of several kind of TV related magazines. This one is TV View, right? With Deej on the cover.
Yeah, this is from Jared Clark's collection, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking to collect stateside for stuff, I'd say the TV guide, the regional TV guides, newspapers, magazines. There's whole magazine ads that you can get for it. The images change, but Lucasfilm did send out stock photos for the press to use, so it's usually one of a handful. This one's interesting in that this particular image doesn't seem to come up in other markets, so I don't think it was used as often.
Yeah, I didn't recognize this one before. It has the vibe of some of those Kenner cardback images of just the random Ewok standing there. It really speaks to that. That's really cool. So yeah, I had not seen this image before.
Yeah, it's pretty out there. It's pretty cool.
And then, that I thought we could get into some of the kind of theatrical or, studio promotional material. And there's quite a bit. And you sent me some great pictures, but you have like the regular kind of one sheet poster that has, I think this was probably used on like eventually like the VHS cover and things like that has the Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. And it comes in, this is where I really start to get interested, is the international release and how really that's expressed in so many different posters, pamphlets, and you've sent me a few that are international. So that same one is that a Japanese poster?
That's a Japanese poster. And yeah, in other markets, it was aired in the theaters. It came out as a theatrical release. Still not many collectibles, but what you do find are a lot of theatrical tie-ins. So you have ticket stubs of photos, you have posters in different languages, lobby cards, theater flyers, and some chirashi type stuff out of Japan, like the smaller posters.
Yeah, and some of those, have that first kind of classic image, and then others. I know this Drew Struzan one is just beautiful, and that shows up on a lot of different things that are like the European stuff. It feels like they use this image a lot.
Yeah, this is a German poster.
And is that like a full size poster or what's, do you know?
It is, and my version's folded. I don't know if it came rolled. It may or may not have. I'm not as up to snuff on all of the variants, but I collect them when I find new ones.
And then there's an image here that has just kind of a mix of different things from different countries. So there's a larger size Japanese poster with like the Gorax as the star, basically.
Yeah, little lobby poster from Japan. And then I think that button is from England.
With an Ewok Adventure, see Caravan of Courage, just got Wicket on the front.
Yeah. The one up top is, I believe it's like a Scholastic poster that you could get back when you could, in class, sign up for things, books and such.
Where is that from? What country?
US. Yeah, it's US, but it's kind of an odd, I think it's a mid to late 80s release, which is weird because it doesn't come out the same year as the show.
And then down in the middle, that's the Japanese program with like the kind of family photo.
I believe that's a Shirashi, the little tiny posters. Yeah.
And then there's a handful of books that Random House put out as kind of just like the accompanying storybook. And I picked two here. One is in English, and then there's the German version. But that came out in other countries as well, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You could have a field day hunting down all of the different language versions if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I like the alternate title, The Ewoks and the Lost Children.
Yeah, that kind of fits the photo, I think. I mean, if you're just going based on the picture on the book. Yeah.
I don't know if you've read the English version, but is there any extra material story-wise in this book?
Um, no, not really. I mean, have you listened to the read along?
So I've heard bits of the second one. Did they do a read along for the original as well?
Oh, yes, they did. Yeah. In fact, I was just looking through it, and some of the images in there are interesting because you don't see them elsewhere, just in that read along. So it's pretty cool.
And then this one, there's this one. This is an image you sent me, and I had no idea what this was. It's a Panasonic item from Japan. I'm presuming. What is this?
Yeah, so late 80s when George Lucas started doing tie-ins for Panasonic for advertising, this was part of that. So it was, I don't know if it was some reward or something for buying something, but you could get this. And I can't remember exactly the translation. It was something about, hey, we're Wicked and Kanik from Ewoks from the Ewok movie. Everyone please love us. And so if you bought your Panasonic item, this was like a tie-in merch or something like that. But yeah, they came as a 2-pack, and they're kind of hard to get plush wise because I mean it's just, and we're talking like 1988. It's an odd year for it.
Yeah, that's right. So Kank does show up in that in that campaign, right? A few times, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fanning George Lucas with like a leaf or something.
I thought to round it out, I think you described this as the single food related tie-in to Caravan of Courage, and it's from Australia. So could you describe what this is?
So break is a type of fruit drink. Think of like any boxed fruit drink we have here, like High C. And there in Australia, they had a poster that you could get for the Ewok Adventure. And then on the back of each drink box would be a sticker that you could peel off and place on the poster. And once you've collected all the stickers, it would make a full image from the movie, basically. The Gorax's face is obviously one of them. I think in the lower left, there's one for Sindel. So it's kind of an odd poster. I only know of one person with a completed poster. They're extremely, I don't think they come up very often, and a finished one, certainly not so much.
Yeah, it's funny when I look at this, for whatever reason, I think of like the South Park aesthetic. If this is all pieced together, that's like what I'm picturing in my mind, even though I know that's not right. But that's the first thing I think of when I see
Well, they
this.
definitely hired their own artists to do it. They're not using. They're kind of just like, well, here's some stock photos, and you know, come up with your own idea. Really, I don't know that they saw the movie or had any clue what it was about. They just kind of drew it and had enough characters in there that they can make stickers from it. It kind of reminds me of the Presto Magics scenes where you could just pick different characters and rub them into a scene. It's one of those kind of posters.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Sometime I'd love to see what the full picture looks like, because it's this is awesome. So how do you view this movie today, big picture wise? I mean, I know we didn't really get into what you thought of it when you first watched it, but I guess you could say, what was your initial impression, and then how do you view it today?
I think by the time I finally got around to see it, I was too old to appreciate it like I should have if I saw it as a kid, if that makes sense. I mean, I love Ewoks, and yes, more is more as far as Endor goes, and that's just fun. But yeah, I don't know. I've had friends come over and watch it, and we'll do other stuff. We'll like craft or whatever, and we'll just let it play. And I don't think we give it our full attention. I did do that more recently, like it came out on Disney Plus, and that by far and away is like the best quality version that I have seen ever. Like those digital versions on Disney Plus are exceptional. This is my copy, by the way. It's actually from my neighborhood Hollywood Video as a kid. So when
That right there, that's a time capsule. Yeah.
yeah. So when Hollywood Video said they were going out of business, I went to my neighborhood, my old neighborhood, and bought the one and only copy they had, because I probably rented this several times, and now I don't have to rent it ever again.
Well, thanks so much for this. It was great chatting, and we'll definitely do this again next year for Battle for Endor if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'll be around for that. I'll find more collectibles of note. Thanks for having me.